Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 15, yes, 15, of Thespian Talk.
No! Lesbian Talk. That's the other program on Project Million.
Yes, this is the spin-off slash parody of Thespian Talk.
We're not a parody. Or a
Oh,
spin-off.
well, I was on Thespian Talk, and I thought it would be funny if we had a show called Lesbian Talk just to reference it, so it's a sort of parody,
Maybe. We'll see.
and it's sort of spin-off because it was mentioned by me on there, just the idea came to, was brought up.
If you say so.
Well, it's either a spin-off or a parody or it's not, and but I did say that during a thing, so
Okay, I believe you.
okay.
How are you this week, dear?
I want to jump face first into a wood chipper, but I fear that might be a bit painful.
What?
I'm just being silly.
Mm-hmm.
So, how are you?
I might. I went to work today, and fortunately I have off tomorrow for Easter, which is really nice. I'm not scheduled. We are open, though. I'm just not scheduled, so I'm happy.
That's good. And I don't know if anyone noticed, but we totally had a live show yesterday. Well,
Totally.
yesterday for us.
So I'm gonna edit that, and I'm not really sure when it's gonna air, but I guess next week maybe.
Yeah, this is the 30th of March, but it usually takes about a week for these episodes to hit blip slash Yahoo, hit blip slash YouTube slash iTunes slash Robert Million's tinfoil hat.
He has a tinfoil hat?
Oh yeah, yeah, and it sends out recordings of podcasts.
That's amazing. What an amazing lie you conducted.
He's Canadian. Such things are expected.
What?
They're Canadians. They're used to pain.
I'm really wondering about you sometimes.
Only sometimes. You're
That's
not paying
fair.
attention.
So anyway, our word from last week was escort. Get your minds out of the gutter, everyone.
It's a very boring word. I prefer it if the word was like pancreas or something.
How is pancreas more interesting than escort?
I have to talk about surgery and stuff. I could look up, footage of people having their pancreases cut open and stuff. It'd be really interesting. In fact, I might just do that.
I don't think we should do that. I don't want to see someone's pancreas getting cut open.
Well, that's your problem.
But escort. I guess, if you were an escort, then you'd make a lot of money, but you could be arrested, because escort is usually code for prostitute.
And prostitution should totally not be illegal. It's fucking stupid. To
Well,
par-
it's the law.
it's a stupid law. To paraphrase George Carlin, you can fuck, you can sell shit. Why can't you sell fucking?
Well, I think because the government can't tax it.
Government could tax it if they made it legal.
That's true.
It's purely the issue. Like it's like the issue with soft drugs and things. It's purely some sort of outdated moralistic thing. Outdated is the wrong word. That suggests that there was a time when it was logical for it to be like this. It was never.
Well, maybe like back in the day in their STDs and stuff, biblical times.
Still wouldn't have any logical reason to ban prostitution.
Well, it wasn't back in the day. It was just frowned upon.
Yeah, I am opposed to banning of prostitution. UK's law is quite interesting. You're not allowed to actually street walk, but you're able to do pretty much everything else.
So if you have a website, you could be like, here's my prostituting website at
If I
choosespace.com.
if I remember correctly, that is true. Yes, you could.
Huh.
And
You
it's
just have to have really good advertising.
well, yeah. If you go in the UK, if you look in like phone booths and stuff, you can actually see like signs and business cards and sort of things, posters done up for people who uh, are selling their services in various ways,
That's
and a number to contact them.
See, I think you guys, I mean, no offense, would be like really like Puritan about it. What? There should be no prostituting upon the London Square.
Well,
Now Kippers is licking himself right near the mic.
you seem to have forgot that the UK reacted to having been ruled in a theocratic manner by the Puritans by getting rid of them, and then them going over to America.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we used to have the Puritans, and then we got rid of them. Well, we didn't get rid of the Puritans themselves. They got rid of themselves because they did not like the fact that other people took over the country and did not rule it to their tastes.
So then they went to America to compete with the Quakers and make better oatmeal. Amen.
Quakers much better Quakers much better. Quakers much better than Puritans.
Because they make oatmeal.
No, Quakers aren't ridiculous and nasty human beings by and large. Quakers are very, very nice.
I don't know any Quakers, although there's like a huge Quaker meeting house in Philly somewhere.
Well, the Quakers these days are one of the nominally Christian groups that are in favor of same-sex marriage. Quakers are great.
I
Well, it's one of the...
like when I was in elementary school, some Quaker came to talk to us. It was like, in our church, we just kind of stand around and talk, and if you want to talk, you just stand up and say things. Then we go have lunch. I was like, that's fun, church.
Yeah, Quakers are a bit like the Unitarian Universalists in that they started off as an actual proper Christian church, just a bit different, but they've evolved into something that's not very Christian, but I'd suspect better than the average Christian church because they're not dicks.
Probably. And they're conscientious objectors, so they don't fight in wars either.
Yeah, like, I'm not entirely sure about the Quakers, but like Unitarian Universalists, you don't actually have to believe in God to be a member of them.
This is very true because I had a friend in high school, Claire Perbrick, and she was a Unitarian. And you just kind of like hang out. Like that's like church. Like you go hang out.
Yeah, it's purely human beings, being social animals. We like social groupings and stuff, and that's one of the reasons churches are so popular. It's a way to get people together.
When I think of hanging out, the first thing that pops in my mind is not church.
Well, obviously not for you, but there is a social element to churches.
Maybe if you go to one of those southern yipping and yodeling churches.
That's generally you're there with a bunch of people. You get to know the people. They have outings together. They meet up. You know people who are in the church. It's becomes a social group.
Oh, see, I just don't like people, so.
Well, and I have never been a member of a church. So.
Well, kind of, because in your land, you're Baha'i people.
Well,
you were
not a church.
When you were a kid.
They're not a church, because church suggests Christian.
A religious squadron.
Is squadron a real word?
No, it's a word that I use.
But for anyone wondering, the word that Omega used to describe my so-called quote-unquote people, I was raised a Baha'i. Not a very big religion. It's going to come up later on because I'm going to talk about my trip to Israel, which was done because of the Baha'is. So, but not a big religion, better than some, not as good as others.
But they have the best holiday ever, and that's New Year's.
And it's not actually called the New Year.
I don't care. I like it. New Year's.
And it was only 9 days ago.
New Year's. You eat biscuits on New Year's. I'm totally like corrupting everything. Like probably somebody that listens to this might cite that in real life. Like, oh yes, I know about Baha'is. They have New Year's. They eat biscuits. Yes, it is the way.
Possible. I would really hope that our audience would be smarter than that, though, unless they were trolling.
Believe everything I tell you, audience. Everything is true. For New Year's biscuits.
But we were talking about escorting.
Right. I guess you could have escort missions in video games, which I despise.
Everyone despises them, even the people who make video games.
That's just I don't know. I hate people, so I hate other people in video games. Like, don't worry, bring me here. So if you don't, I'll die. Shut up.
It's like the makers just created a level, but they couldn't be bothered to make it a proper level, so it's like a half-hearted level. rather than making you do anything interesting or forcing you to fight interesting enemies, it's just like, no, you have to go through it really slowly while following this idiot.
And I hate if it's one of the ones where, or you have to get them to follow you, but then they'll like lose interest after a while, so you have to go back if you notice they're not following you and press the button again. So they'll come in and then it's just like only, like they can only ever stay with you for like a few yards. You're like, what the hell's your problem?
Yeah, it's like there's a hell of a lot of those in Dead Rising. And I tried playing Dead Rising, which is like a Dawn of the Dead type video game.
Mhm.
I tried playing it. Unfortunately, my computer, sorry, my TV screen was way too small. It's one of those new types of games which has been made to get the, you can't actually play it unless you get an HD TV because the writing is so fucking small.
I'm sorry.
But the whole, a hell of a lot of escort missions in that.
So I'm assuming that pretty much everybody was doomed with you at the helm.
Yeah, I gave up. Sharpish.
You Sharpish?
Well, gave up Sharpish.
What's
As
Sharpish?
in, what's Sharpish?
Yeah.
It's like a derivation. It's like a takeoff of the word sharply, as in I did it quickly.
Oh, I've never heard of that before. I'll be like, how you doing? Sharpish. I want my McNuggets. Sharpish.
See, the McNuggets thing, that is a perfectly fine line to use Sharpish in. How are you, Sharpish? That's not really one.
You could say it. You know when you could say it? You could say it on New Year's.
You're going to have to go to a New Year party one of these days because my family are still Baha'is, and my a lot of people I know are Baha'is and stuff, so it's going to happen.
No. No, because they don't drink, and I'm only
So
interesting.
you can drink afterwards.
I'm only interesting when I drink.
You're very interesting all the time. My parents think you're awesome.
Yeah, well, they're like supposed to think that I'm awesome because they're my in-laws. That's the point.
Your
Actually, it's
in-laws
not.
are supposed to hate you. Have you not seen like sitcoms and stuff? Your in-laws are supposed to hate you.
Well, somehow I got around the curve, so.
Yeah, although I'm fairly sure your in-laws hate me.
No, they don't. They like you. What would ever give you the idea that they don't?
That time they tried to put a poisonous centipede in my bed.
That never happened. That happened
Yes, it,
in your mind.
no, it happened in a James Bond novel.
Oh, well, it's even better. So
They
you
tried to
guys,
kill
this is
me.
what I have to deal with on a constant basis.
Her parents have a new dog.
We talked about that last week, and actually, if you watched the episode 14, if you watch it, the video one, I did put up a picture of both my parents' new dog and my sister's puppy.
So, forget I mentioned that because it was mentioned before.
Or I could
But
just edit this out.
but escorts. There's also Ford Escorts, a type of car which I don't recall being very, very excited by. But then again, I've never been particularly excited by cars.
Um, I usually drive Japanese cars. I owned a Ford for a few months, but it wasn't an Escort. It was a Ford Focus.
Hmm. Your mind's gonna be so blown when you're coming over here. You're noticing because we have different makes of cars over here, like Chryslers and Cadillacs and stuff aren't really over here.
Well, that's fine. I mean, like I said, like I usually try to drive Japanese cars because they're better. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my little Saturn, but um, when I was growing up, my parents always, well, no, my dad he had a Datsun once, but he always drives Nissans. Like they always lease a Nissan for like a few years, and they give it traded in, and then lease the newer model.
Now the over here you got a lot of Japanese cars, you got British cars, you got German cars. A lot of
Sure.
European ones.
I want to drive. I want to drive a French car.
Like a Renault.
Is that what they're called?
Well, I don't know very much about cars, so I might be wrong about that. But Renault, I'm fairly sure it's French because it sounds French. But you can get like European cars and stuff. So
But the only problem is I have to have an automatic transmission. I can't drive stick. What? I
obvious
can't.
joke.
Shut up. No, I'm not a penis. I did not mean a penis. I meant I cannot drive a manual transmission. I need automatic because I'm an idiot American.
It needs no stick.
Are you proud of yourself for that? You feel good?
No.
Okay. But so escort. So I think enough of escorts, and let's move on to you talking about your trip to Israel.
I took a trip to Israel, and I was in Israel. It
Were there
was hot.
scorpions?
I didn't notice any scorpions,
Okay.
but I did notice. But I was mostly in the city of Haifa, and if you get the chance, I'm going to drag Omega over to Israel because I
No,
would
it's
like to see
hot and
Jerusalem.
also terrorism. If there's terrorism in Belfast, there's even more terrorism in Israel.
And I'm like, stop being a wuss. Yeah, you might get blown up, but that's part of the thrill.
No, no, I don't want to be blown up.
You want to go to South Korea right now. North Korea has declared war on it.
Well, that I wanted to go to South Korea to eat food in Seoul with my cousin and his wife, but that was before the whole thing with North Korea.
Yeah, well, I still want to go to South Korea. I'm like, we just have different standards when it comes to international safety.
Like, I mean, we could go to someplace safe, like, I don't know, Scotland.
Well, Scotland's cold. Well, not as cold as what you're used to.
I don't care. I'd rather it be cold than it be hot and sweaty and full of scorpions and wasps.
We're going to go to Scotland anyway. That's one of our sort of, ASAP things. But Israel, I spent most of my time in Haifa. I went over to the Crusader city of Akka, and with some spectacular, architecture in both of them. They're still there, and really interesting places. Like Haifa, I recall, one side of it was a desert, the other side was the Mediterranean. It was on top of a mountain. Well, it went right down the mountain, the city. So it was like, holy shit, I'm getting like three different things at once: desert, water, and mountain height. Wow.
All of the climates.
Yep. And interestingly enough, I went to see The Mummy, the Brendan Fraser one, packed house in the middle of Israel with it had either Hebrew or, well, most likely Hebrew, I guess, subtitles and stuff. And the interesting thing I noticed was the cinema lights never went down in the Israeli cinema.
Well, probably they stayed on because if the lights went down, people would get up to bad stuff, like being a suicide bomber or something.
Yes, lights stop suicide bombs.
Well, because it's a lot difficult. I don't know. I don't know much about Israel. I worked for an Israeli telecom company years ago, and my boss and some of the people I worked with were Israeli, and they were all ex-military, so they were hardcore.
I think everyone in Israel over a certain age is ex-military or an immigrant.
That's true.
But yeah, I went there for roughly 2 weeks because at the time I was a Baha'i, and the Baha'is, they have a thing where the Baha'i sort of version of the Baha'i center of their religious, buildings and stuff is actually in Haifa. The Baha'is, like all the other Abrahamic faiths, like to have, except for the Mormons, like to have Israel as their, promised holy land. But the Baha'is were smart enough to not have Jerusalem, and they decided to go for Haifa instead. Because like, aha, everyone else is going to have, fight over Jerusalem. We'll have this place. Da 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 da.
They all said it once.
Yeah, and Haifa, I haven't been to Jerusalem, but Haifa seems to be the better deal because A, it almost never gets attacked during terrorism. B, it's right beside the ocean, or the Mediterranean. It seems to be a better location. Plus, it's only like an hour from Tel Aviv, which is the most LGBT-friendly place in Israel, which would make it, by extension, the most LGBT-friendly place in the entire Middle East, probably further apart from that.
That's interesting.
But,
Hey, Tel Aviv, that's where my boss was from. And she was like, "Oh, you should totally go there sometime." And I was like, "I'm not ever going to Israel because it's a war zone." And she looks at me and goes, "No, not Tel Aviv. There was a food festival there." As if, oh, well, okay, there's a food festival there. That must make it all right.
yeah.
My boss is awesome. Like she didn't ever think much of America. And when we started off in this one building, and then we moved to this building in New Jersey that had a warehouse. And so she asked me, she was like, "What should we do? We have to with the mail. how will they know? And I was like, well, we'll just, I'll just drop off a change of address form, or wait, you know what? I can do it on online. And she's like, no, no, go to the place, go there, because otherwise it will not happen if you do it online. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, I hope no one goes postal while I'm waiting in line, ha ha ha. And she's like, what is this, go postal? And I had to explain to her. I was like, well, Sharon, during the 1990s, it became so prevalent for a postal worker to be upset with their job and hate their coworkers and hate everything that they would quite often come to work with a gun, slaughter everyone in the post office, and then kill themselves. And this happens so often that we have a phrase, to go postal. And she gave me a funny look, and she goes, no, I think you do it online. And I don't think she ever trusted the U.S. Postal Service after that.
Well, she was very sensible.
She was. She also had a mouse in her apartment, and she was really upset about it. And I would be too, if I was her, because it was in Rittenhouse Square, which is a really ritzy part of Philadelphia. And, she's like, I tried to get the mouse, and I called everyone, and, I put down the traps that they say, what I catch spiders. And she came in one morning all flustered, and she's like, I saw the mouse, I saw it. And I said, I was joking, I said, well, you should have pulled out your pistol and shot it. She goes, no, I tried, but by the time I get it out and loaded, it's gone. I said, no, you can't shoot off a handgun in Rittenhouse Square.
Well, apparently she can.
She tried to.
Well, I enjoyed my time over in Israel. I have issues with quite a lot of the things that the Israeli government does, but I would adore going back again.
Well, we just shouldn't tell my mom because she's very pro-Palestinian because she read this book. Well, I mean, also if we ever went to Israel, I'd be afraid that Left Behind would break out all around us, so.
Nah, it wouldn't break out. Although if you went to Jerusalem, you might run into people who have Jerusalem syndrome.
That's so weird. Like, you told me about that once before, and I Googled it, because I'm like, that can't be real.
And I'm like, yes, it is real.
I don't, like, how could you be that significantly affected by mental illness, having no prior history of mental illness or religious mania or even any religious beliefs, but you just go, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs all of a sudden?
Well, I hate to say this, and some people are going to be upset by this. There is a severe overlap between religiosity and mental illness, because people who are genuinely mentally ill, they can disguise their mental illness, obviously not deliberately, within religiosity.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, some of the examples in the article were people who weren't even religious at all. Like, they weren't visiting Jerusalem for religious purposes. They were just visiting because, like, they had a business meeting or they were just like, oh, I'll visit Israel, Like, that's the part that I found weird.
Religion, Jerusalem and Christianity are incredibly big parts of Western culture. So there's no way to grow up without absorbing a little bit of it by, even if it's by osmosis or something.
There needs to be more. I need additional information. There needs to be a full case study done.
I suppose if it's the equivalent maybe of, imagine people in the ancient Greek world going to, Mount Olympus, going to the bottom of Mount Olympus and going insane.
Yeah, but then that would be seen as kind of normal because they had been touched by the gods.
Yeah, this is the same sort of thing, though. If that had happened then, it would have been a sign of, people, something that's very important in that culture, and they're at that place, and it has an effect. It's a little bit like, you're seeing the footage of people going crazy when the Beatles were around.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of stupid too. I mean,
it's a little bit like that. People get connected to something that is culturally important, whether to them individually or just to the culture as a whole, and it has effects.
I guess.
People are weird. I expect a future episode when we go to Jerusalem and I go crazy and decide that I'm some sort of messiah. Oh wait, too late.
It just reminds me of that thing, that saying from Star Wars. The Force has a great effect on the weak-minded. Like, you have to, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if I would say that the people who are affected by it are definitely weak-minded. It's because it is religiously connected. Religiosity, strong-minded people can can get affected by it just as much as weak-minded people.
Yeah, but if you're strong-minded, you're not going to give that much credence to religion, I don't think.
No,
Because if you didn't like stop and think logically about it beforehand, you're not going to all of a sudden be thinking logically on the streets of Jerusalem.
oh, very, very, very smart people become very, 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 very religious. It's smart people. Being smart doesn't mean that you're going to think about logically about everything that you did come across. It means that you may well start believing things and then find smart reasons to justify it.
That's a very good point.
Like Francis Collins, the guy who headed the Human Genome Project.
Yeah.
He became a born-again Christian when he was out hiking one day. He was walking up and he came across a waterfall that had been frozen in 3 places. And that to him showed, just in his second, he became a born-again Christian because of the Trinity and the waterfall in 3. Being smart is being smart doesn't mean that you don't get affected by bad ideas. Like, even look into cultish things like the guys who attacked the Tokyo subway system in the early 90s.
Oh yeah, he died recently. Their leader didn't he?
I think so.
I remember.
But I've done some reading on that cult, and cults generally, quite a lot of them have really high amounts of really intelligent people in it. Scientists are one of the group of people who are the most easily confused and affected by, say, stage magicians.
Not Carl Sagan. Dun, 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 dun.
They're easily convinced because they're easily convinced by charlatans who use a mixture of sleight of hand, because scientists are looking for the obvious thing. This is why a lot of the great debunkers of paranormal things tend to be magicians rather than scientists, because scientists, if you have someone doing an act, and a scientist might miss something that's not very obvious, while a magician will look for the side options rather than the very obvious one.
I don't think that that's a broad kind of thing that you can say, because a scientist will also be considering logic. You see, he's like, I'm levitating. The scientist will say, well, obviously gravity still applies to everyone equally, so there's some trickery going on here.
Possibly, but then talk to scientists who have been convinced by stuff that was later revealed to be complete bullshit.
Oh.
I'm quite sure, I've come across them. I'm quite sure there were several scientists who were convinced by, I think it was Uri Geller, they were convinced by.
Carl Sagan wasn't. Dun, 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 dun.
Well, not all scientists, obviously. But all I'm saying is that being smart does not mean that you won't get affected by things by either deliberate or accidental hoaxes, the things that aren't really there.
Okay, dear. I believe you.
Okay. Plus, if you're smart, and you know you're smart, then you might get confident.
Well, there's things that you should be confident in, for example, gravity. There are a specific set of conditions that have to be met to suspend gravity, like those planes that fly really fast in a parabola, that, with the G-forces and stuff like that. Or, for example, being in outer space, or being on a celestial body that has different gravitational pull than Earth's. Those are things that don't change no matter how confident you are. I can be confident that 100 times out of 100, if I drop something, it's going to go all over the floor. Theoretically speaking, because of gravity. That's a thing.
Well, gravity, remember, science does not deal with absolutes. Science says there is a very, 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 very high probability that whatever you drop will fall to the ground, but it's not definite, because you would need to drop it in an infinite amount of times in order to demonstrate it to 100%.
Right, I know that, but I know that where I'm existing right now in Pikes in Maryland, that it does not meet the conditions that would suspend what I see as a law of gravity.
When I was saying that scientists get overconfident, I don't mean they're getting overconfident in science itself, because the scientific method is the greatest thing that was ever come up with by human race in order to try and work out the most likely truth. No, what I'm saying is that they get confident in themselves, in their own ability to work out what's going on, and they could be fooled.
All right, I can see that.
Now, this guy was not a scientist, but Arthur Conan Doyle, he invented one of the world's most famous rationalist characters, Sherlock Holmes. You know, he was obsessed with evidence, really intelligent, blah, 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 blah. The character was. He also invented Professor Challenger, who was, at the time, a very famous fictional Victorian scientist. He also was completely credulous when it came to things like spiritualism. He believed charlatans, and he even went as far as believing that Harry Houdini, because Harry Houdini at the time was debunking bullshit like that, he believed Harry Houdini had magical powers, and that's how he did all of his tricks. And
Yep.
no matter how many times Harry Houdini explained exactly how he did it, he wouldn't believe him.
Yeah, but that was back in the day when we didn't have iPods and science.
We did have science. Scientific method is
We had science, but it wasn't very good yet. We didn't have
No.
penicillin.
They hadn't worked a lot of particular things out, but the scientific method was still going. What I'm saying is that sort of smart person having the wool pulled over their eyes is still very possible. Hello everyone, that was Nana War, and we're on to our second half of the show, where we're going to talk about who. Who are we going to talk about, honey?
I don't know. I just can't bring his name to mind.
Does he even have a name? Who knows?
Well, first of all, I think we should talk to someone who knows. And that would be Giovanni.
Who is that?
It's me, because it's Giovanni's trivia time. And I don't know what you guys are on, but I just got done watching the new episode of Doctor Who, so I thought that we would have an extra special nerdy trivia question today. Well, not question, fact, really.
Oh, fuck, it's a macra.
Very funny. Nobody gets that reference. They're there, Hagen. They're there.
Aww.
So anyway, when Patrick Troughton was cast as the second Doctor, his ideas for how the character should be interpreted included an Arab pirate in blackface. Apparently, he wanted to be unrecognizable so his character acting career couldn't be damaged by the role of the Doctor. Because apparently they still thought the blackface was okay in Britain. We don't know why that is.
Yeah, it didn't stop being okay until like the 80s.
Probably because you guys are reprehensible racists. So anyway, that's been Giovanni's trivia fact. I'm going to go away before I get exploded. So see y'all next week.
Fucking lobster.
Leave my lobster alone.
It could be argued that with characters like Papa Lazarou in the League of Gentlemen, that the UK still thinks on some level that blackface is okay. Ironically, Papa Lazarou was created by and played by Reece Shearsmith, who was playing Patrick Troughton in the docudrama about the creation of Doctor Who.
Dun dun dun.
What are we talking about again?
Doctor Who? I mean, nothing. I mean, it's time for my story from the store.
You have a store?
Yes, of my very own. Actually, I'm pestering the cat by touching his paws right now.
Make him purr.
I can try.
Make him meow.
Kippers, wake up and make a noise. He's like, what? He's kind of purring. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear the purring.
He's sniffing the mic. You hear him now?
Oh yeah, want him to meow.
I can't make him. I mean, short of like pinching his tail or something like that, which I'm not gonna do. He talks when he talks.
You could pinch his tail.
No, because he would bite me.
I would totally get bitten for the sake of our audience.
Oh, well, maybe if I like make him go out of the chair. Kippers, get. I'll blow in his face. He hates that. Get. Come on. There. Are you happy? He made a noise.
Yay!
I'm sorry, buddy. I love you. You can stay here. Now he's gonna wait till I've looked away and bite me in secret.
Why were you bullying your cat?
I think I need a divorce.
Good night, everybody.
So anyway, now it's time for a part of the show called One Time at the Store. If you're just joining us, if this is your first episode of Lesbian Talk,
You poor bastards.
pretty much. I spent the the last 9 or so years working for a large chain bookstore, and I have pretty much seen it all. And oh God, have I seen it all. And today is one of those stories. And today we're going to talk about sex. Well, not really, but today's another catch-all of a whole bunch of different experiences because my company doesn't censor. We don't carry just specific books that we think will be unoffensive. In fact, the only time we declined a title was when O.J. Simpson put his book out. We declined to buy the title, and then they reworked the cover and they made it so all the money would go to the Perlman family, and then we bought the title. But usually we don't censor, so we do have, gasp, shock, and alarm, a sexuality section. Oh no, it's
I'm
right
just
at the end
thinking,
of self-improvement.
your shop, would it be like Mr. Hardcock's Porn Emporium?
No. I mean, well, we carry adult magazines, but they're shrink wrapped and they're usually up at the top in the men's interest section. But at the first store that I worked at, they were actually behind the register. And one day, a woman was making a return, and I had to call a manager to come up and do the return. So I had to look up, she'd never a receipt, so I had to look up the title, make sure it was something we still carried. So I wasn't standing in front of the counter, like directly in front of her, I was standing in front of the register. And so she looked over the counter and she's like, "How dare you?" And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "You sell dirty magazines. That's horrible. That's pornography. You know, how could you do that?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, we get paid by the publisher to have them in stock, and then people come and purchase them, and we take their money. I mean," and she was like, "That's terrible. That's reprehensible. It's morally bankrupt." And I was like, "Well, they're not out on the floor." And she's like, "But any child could see them where they are right now." And let me explain that they were behind the register, but they were on they were on ground level behind the register in a little waterfall display. So I said, "Well, ma'am, first of all, I'm usually standing right here." And I stood right in front of the counter again. I go, "Second of all, if they're tall enough that they can not only see over the counter, but see down to where the dirty magazines are, they're probably old enough to buy them."
Or they're Andre the Giant?
Yeah, but she complained to our manager anyway. But I mean, I don't really see what the big deal is, because it's not like a child can gain access to them, and people have the right to buy dirty magazines if they want to. Like, there was one guy at my first store who would come in, and I liked him because he was this big, huge guy with white hair, and he always was dressed in like different colored suits, and he would come up with a whole bunch of books. And he had a member card too. And he would say, "Hey, do you have the new freshman in? I want that one." And "Oh yeah, the summer specials, and I want that one too." And if you don't know, Freshman is a magazine about young men targeted towards older men. Not young men like the illegal kind of young men, but like freshmen in college kind of young men.
The Twinks.
Yeah. And he was so great. Like, because he just basically came up to Roger like, "Hey, how you doing? I want some porn, please." And I liked him. I liked that guy. I'm like, "Have a good night, sir." I will. You too.
I will have a very good night, and so will my cock.
I mean, and it's funny too, because we'll catch. I mean, we have a sexuality section. It's right at the end of self-improvement and right before medicine. So it's not like in a kid-friendly area. It's actually pretty far away from the kids section. But yeah, we occasionally get complaints from people like, "How could you sell books about sex?" And we're like, "Because the publisher pays us to. And people buy them." I mean, it's I don't know, some people have a very puritanical outlook. But it's what was fun though a while back, this is at my first store, was it wasn't in sexuality, but it was in photo essay. Playboy put out actually three that season, really big, coffee table size books. The Playboy Big Book of Blondes and the Big Book of Redheads, and then there was the Playboy Big Book of Boobs. And the photo essay section, because it's usually big, coffee table books, is mostly display. So it stood up on display. So there was I think they were like 6th or 7th graders. It was a school event, and I was performing zone maintenance, which is straightening and scanning a section, in crafts, which was right next to photo essay, what we used to call Hell's Corner. And it was really great because the kids, they would walk by and they would see, oh, the big book of boobs, and they would all like gather around it and like look at it and giggle and stuff like that. And it was really great because what I could do is I could cross through graphic novels behind them, and I would sneak up the whole night. This was great. Sneak up real quick. I'd be like, "Hi, can I help you with anything?" And they were like, "Pew!" And they like took off into all different parts of the store. It was great. But yeah, so
I think I just realized again why I married you.
I love to do it too. Although it's really obnoxious, like if you're doing something in self-improvement and someone's browsing the sexuality section, but like sometimes young couples will browse it, whatever. But like if they're like being a total creeper or like, sometimes I've never witnessed it, but I've been at stores where this has happened where, there's a guy playing pocket pool while he's reading, a book in the sexuality section, and he'll be politely asked to leave on no uncertain terms. But yeah, sex in the bookstore, I tell you what.
How does someone fit a pool table in their pocket? Isn't that kind of shoplifting? I do not understand. You have to go into great detail about what you just meant.
Well, pretty much, honey, what he was doing, one of these men, would be he would put his hand in his pocket and touch his penis in a rhythmic fashion so as to become aroused.
How is that resembling pool?
You've never heard, I can't believe you've never heard that expression before.
The game of pool does not resemble that. I am confused and confounded.
Sure you do, because whenever you play pool, you hit the balls with the stick.
I'm pretty sure that's not what guys do to get off.
I don't know. I don't have that equipment. I didn't study this. That's just a phrase.
I have watched a lot of porn to do reviews for it. I'm fairly sure I've never seen that before.
Quick, get porn critic on the call.
It's like, I'm just trying to work out, if he grabs his stick and he hits the balls with it, and surely that means he's got to bend his entire penis all the way around, and then has to,
he could be doing it at the base. Don't they all connect at the base?
Yeah, but that's the case of him grabbing the top, and all he's doing is sort of jamming the penis into his own pelvis, which is like...
Like I said, I don't know how to research this. We're going to get in trouble. This is a little bit too racy for PME.
Whoever invented the term pocket pool needs to be questioned about how they thought masturbation worked.
Probably because of alliteration. It probably sounded nice and clever.
Because clever and nice is what you want to think about whenever you hear the term about something about public masturbation.
So do you want to talk about Doctor Who or not?
Doctor Who!
Oh, this will be a standard warning. I mean, this is not going to go up until next week, so the first Sunday in April. But...
So, yeah, this is not actually the episode that's just gone up. This is the episode before that.
This is the first episode of the season, The Bells of St. John?
Yeah, which was an absolutely stupid title.
It had nothing to do with anything. But, so, spoilers. If you have not seen the episode and you don't want to hear about it, then you should probably turn off the podcast or fast forward to the end when we talk about the word.
Yeah.
So, spoilers alert. There you go, the internet. Check your privilege, amen.
Now, first things first, the episode was not bad enough for me to warrant doing a review of it. Some people seem to think that I do my Doctor Who 20 Who reviews just about any episode that's not very good. It's like, oh no. The vast majority of New Who episodes aren't very good. I only do reviews about the absolutely worst.
The worst of the worst. Now, I missed like the first minute or two because I didn't realize that I could stream live off of the VPN service that I was using to watch on BBC. But do
you want to mention that, honey?
Yeah, using VPN is perfectly legal.
Okay.
Basically, if you want to know, VPN is a service that it's like I said, it's a perfectly legal service that you pay them and you can connect to servers in other countries. And your IP address becomes the IP address of that country. And if the BBC has really got their nose bent out of shape about it, then they would have figured out a way to prevent this from happening. But since they haven't, I'm going to assume that everything's fine.
Fair enough. And I watched it after that. There was problems on my end trying to get it watched live, so I had to wait until about half an hour after it aired to watch it. But let me see. The good. The idea of a monster in the Wi-Fi was good. The The creatures, the Spoonhead, definitely worked better than the last Stephen Moffat monster, which were evil and had rotating heads, looking at you smilers from the beast below. The honestly, it wasn't it wasn't 100% very interesting. The idea of aliens and Wi-Fi was good, but
I like that because if there's ever been a better reason to secure your router, see, don't connect to other people's networks. Oh.
they had Richard E. Grant in it as the Great Intelligence. I don't know why the Great Intelligence has to be played by Richard E. Grant now. The Great Intelligence. Okay, the Great Intelligence was in the Snowman episode, and in the '60s it was in the Snowman episode as well, but it was a different type of snowman. Basically, this disembodied intelligence that had robots, and it killed shit. And according to the Doctor Who novels, it was actually one of the Great Old Ones from H.P. Lovecraft. Yes, the Great Old Ones exist in Doctor Who mythos. They became powerful aliens.
That's kind of cool, though, actually.
Yeah. They were all leftovers from the previous universe when it sort of destroyed, and then the new universe was created. The ones that survived basically got mutated into really powerful creatures.
Powerful.
But so yeah, but now they've given it a face and a personality and stuff, and I'm like, God damn it! Have you not learned anything from the fucking alien queen from Star Trek: First Contact?
Yeah, but you have to. It has to have an interface with people somehow. Who's to say that just might be the face that it's chosen for now?
Yeah, well, it's the same one as that it had in the Victorian. It's the guy who worked for them in the Victorian era.
Well, he got subsumed by it, maybe.
And he was played by Richard E. Grant, who was the original actor cast as the Ninth Doctor, but he was retconned out of existence.
Oh no.
Yeah, 2003 there was Scream of the Shalka, an animated Doctor Who special, which featured the Ninth Doctor, and Derek Jacobi as the Master. And there was a second one but people didn't think much of it. And then 2005 they did the Eccleston one, and Richard E. Grant's Doctor was demoted to non-canon.
Oh.
But then Derek Jacobi turned up as the Master in Utopia, where he was actually good because, well, the Master was. Yeah, Derek Jacobi was still good in the role, and Richard E. Grant has stated that his bad performance as the Ninth Doctor meant that he would never actually get to play the Doctor for real. Because apparently people didn't like his performance as the Doctor. Which is ironic, given if you look at him in Withnail and I, he'd make an absolutely fantastic Doctor.
I don't know that show, honey.
It's a film from the 80s about these two young drunk actors.
The other from it just died. He was also in Harry Potter.
Yeah. He was in it as well. And the other main person from Withnail and I was Paul McGann, who was the Eighth Doctor.
I'm gonna come out and say it. I'm not as enthused about Clara as I thought I'd be. Like, she was she was good in the Victorian era because she wasn't as OMG, modern girl sassy as she was in Asylum of the Daleks. So she's kind of annoying me.
Stephen Moffat has an ill ability to create main female characters who are not sassy and capable, whether it makes sense or not.
Well, she was like Miss Super Hacker back in the future in the Dalek times. That's cool. She worked, on a spaceship. I can buy that. But now she's like, oh, I don't know anything about computers except they downloaded a file in my head, and it's like the Matrix. Now I know Kung Fu, and now I'm a super hacker, and now I can hack things better than the Doctor. I'm just saying. And I'm like, shut up. No one loves you. Be quiet. Go back to being Victorian and demure-ish.
Didn't really care for her in the Victorian era either.
She was a bit more restrained, though.
I really wish the New Who would stop having characters, companions, who are there to be as interesting as the Doctor, give them some sort of an epic storyline of some sort, or give them some sort of, they are incredible, that's why the Doctor decided to pick them up. It's really annoying.
Well, what about Romana? She was a Time Lord, even.
Yeah, Romana was just was a basic person from the Doctor's same species. She was just a Time Lord.
But she was like him, and she was smart. She wasn't as smart as him, but
She may have been smarter. Like there was in Old Who, there was the odd companion who was as smart as the Doctor. New Who, they've not been as smart as the Doctor. This is true, but they've all had some sort of an epic storyline, designed to prove that they were incredible. They're trying to do some sort of a message that everyone's incredible, and it's like, I'm sorry, no. If everyone's incredible, then no one's incredible. You don't understand what incredible means, New Who. Ordinary people are ordinary. That's what it means.
Amy and Rory weren't that incredible.
No, they were part of the big storyline. In order to create River's song and stuff like that, they had this storyline already built up and everything. They New Who is almost unable to have a person join up with the Doctor, have adventures, fucking leave. It's not that hard. You don't need to give someone a really dramatic reason for why they have to be with the Doctor, and then make them mind-blowingly brilliant, and then have some sort of a crazy hackneyed thing for why they have to leave.
Well, didn't one of the third Doctor's companions get married? And she's like, I can't travel with you anymore. I'm getting married. And he was like, well, that sucks. I mean, he didn't say, oh, that sucks, but you know what I mean.
Old Who had a thing about just, if they couldn't think of a reason to make the companion leave, they would marry them off. She's not the only one. They married off Leela. And Leela, if you don't know, she was basically Red Sonja, but as a Doctor Who companion.
Oh.
And, Louise Jameson, who played her, to this day is pissed off that they didn't kill her off in battle. But they instead married her off to someone she'd barely spent 2 scenes with.
Well, maybe could she die valiantly in battle in one of the books?
She probably did. The books have a tendency to kill off everyone.
Ooh, but how do you really feel?
No, the books have a tendency to kill characters off.
She said that really bitterly, though.
Sometimes more than once. If you look through there's multiple continuities in Doctor Who books, and almost every companion has been killed off at least once.
Well, I'm reading Wheel of Ice, which is actually Stephen Baxter wrote the end of last year, which is a second Doctor book. Mm-hmm. You can probably still find it in hardcover at your local bookstore, but I have it as an ebook. And it's third person, but it's kind of character focused on Zoe. And I'm like, I'm already sick of her. I like Jamie better. And the only funny thing is that his dialogue is written grammatically, so his accent, you never forget his accent because you have to sound it out. But she's like, Zoe wasn't sure why she felt so threatened by this new person. I've really got to broaden my horizons. I'm like, oh, shut up. Nobody cares about you and your life. We want to hear about the Doctor and Jamie. You're not important.
Well, the Doctor and Jamie did. Troughton and Fraser Hines liked putting little tidbits in there to indicate that the Doctor and Jamie were having some sort of relationship. They did it as much as they could.
When you told me that, that's why I was like, all right, now I like them automatically a lot better now. And yeah, like in the Two Doctors, when the Sixth Doctor is like, oh my gosh, it's Jamie, things and stuff, and he was really, really, really happy. And Perry's like, who's Jamie? And he's like, one of my companions. Thought I'd never see him again, but he's awesome.
And then like, in the 10th Doctor, when he was in Scotland, actually used the nickname James McCrimmon as a pseudonym.
Oh, and in the audio adventure with the Sixth Doctor and Evelyn, that's about those Scottish serial killers. There's a
Broken Hair.
Yeah, one of the guys is named, one of the not NPCs, but one of the people they meet is named Jamie, and the Doctor he said that's the best name ever. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Jamie is unusual because he's a male companion who works really, really well, and is just awesome.
Not like who was the obnoxious math kid that died?
Oh, Adric?
Yeah, no one likes him.
Adric wasn't as bad with the Fourth Doctor because the Fourth Doctor was a very dominant personality, and you could get the feeling that your Fourth Doctor could basically yell at him to shut the fuck up. The Fifth Doctor, there was 4 characters there. Fifth Doctor was very comparatively weak, so Adric, his whininess was accentuated.
Mm. I don't think I would have liked him as a character.
Yeah, Adric, well, depends. He's definitely he's no Rose. I'll put it that way.
Rose is like the benchmark of awful companions.
Oh yeah. Oh fuck yeah. But Jamie is brilliant. I love Jamie. Zoe, I'm fine with Zoe. But the books I was talking about where companions die and stuff, that's mostly relegated to like 1989 to 2005
Mm.
when there was no televised Doctor Who. So the books basically had free reign. And they tended to argue with each other sometimes.
Or be really bad, like one of the ones that you got me that I'm trying to read.
Oh, which one was that again?
I forget which one it is. They're over on my shelf right now. But it's the it's the sixth Doctor, I mean, and Perry, and they're in ancient Egypt, except then they end up in an alternative version where Egypt and Rome teamed up and got steam tech and all this other stuff. And the thing is that the writing's not bad. The writing is it's very British, but I can get over that because I've read British authors before. The problem is that they forget that we're reading a Doctor Who book because we want to read about the Doctor. Like the Doctor and Perry are in the TARDIS, and then this time thing happens, and they're frozen in like a second, and then it's literally 32 pages before they're back. And I'm like, really? I don't give a shit about Caesar. I don't give a shit about Mark Antony or Cleopatra. I'm reading this book because I want to read about the Doctor and his adventures.
It sounds like they're recreating the Colin Baker era's style in Page, because Colin Baker's style, especially with his first season, he wasn't in it for a lot. Because the style of Doctor Who was usually 4 episodes. The Doctor would get involved at the end of the first episode. The first episode was set up. Then they kept that mindset for making the episodes that were 45 minutes long each, but only 2 episodes. So the Doctor would only really get involved with the plot halfway through the story.
But here's the thing. I mean, basically, okay, it's not fan fiction, but if you're reading a book about a TV show, it's because there's something you want to get out of it. And here's the thing about writing, you can do different stuff. You don't have to do it as episodic and formulaic because it's a book, it's prose, you can bloody well do what you like.
Yeah, it definitely sounds annoying. But that's the only logical defense I can think of for it. They're trying to recreate the style of the original, of Colin Baker's era.
I was annoyed. I don't know why I said that in an accent. But yes, The Bells of St. John. Like, I was really excited about the title because the title sounded epic and had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, it's like, oh, the Doctor just wants some solitude, so he pretends to be a monk, and they're all like, oh, the bell is ringing, and it's like it's the fucking telephone. It's like it's.
Although I do like the idea of somebody thinking they're calling tech support and getting the Doctor instead. I did chuckle a wee bit at that.
It was a little bit amusing. It's just the elements I didn't really care for.
I didn't. What did I not like?
Next episode looks more like classic Who because they're in Space Egypt.
Space Egypt.
Yeah,
Well,
did you not see the trailer?
No, I did. I just like you calling it Space Egypt.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Although I have to say, I think it's episode 3 that I'm looking forward to the most. I want fucking Ice Warriors, dude.
Ice Warriors. That would be kind of cool. Apparently they got the same guy who voiced them in the series and then in all the audio dramas to come back and...
What? They got one of the original 60s guys?
I remember... You told me that. I remember reading this somewhere.
I don't recall that.
Maybe Nash posted it. Somebody tweeted about this, and I remember reading it months ago.
Well, if it's true, then fuck yeah.
Ice Warriors.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing that annoyed me is...
The Ice Warriors.
Hippers just looked up. But another thing that bothered me about this one is they were teasing it on this article that I read that got linked from the Doctor Who Facebook page. That it's gonna be like the Doctor, like kind of James Bond, like, and like he was nothing like James Bond in this episode, nothing.
Yeah, there's only one Dr. James Bond. That's fucking Pertwee.
And you know what? No offense or nothing, the Doctor really came across as a creeper in this episode, like a serious creeper. Like if I was Clara and he was like outside of my house, I'd have called the police. Like. I mean, unless it's all a big, unless she's putting him on. Unless, if there's some reason that she knows exactly who she is and exactly who he is and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, Doctor, stop it! Stop stalking her. Choose a new companion. Obviously, this is not working out for you. He's like a kid with a crush. He's like, I totally want you to be my companion and come with me to the Sadie Hawkins Day dance. Like, shut up. Colin Baker never would have been a nerd like that.
Yeah,
Have some dignity, Doctor. I mean, jeez.
I can think of that Clara made some sort of half-hearted comment referencing to what you described as creeperness.
Hmm.
And I got the feeling, though, Stephen Moffat wanted to point this out to have a different view on the Doctor, but then had Clara sort of running off with him anyway. So Stephen Moffat's accidental moral is, if someone's being a creeper, run off with him. He might have a time machine, rather than, hey, that guy could possibly be wanting to do illegal things to me.
He might like, yeah. She was like, "What? Your snog box? Like, it's not a snog box. It's a TARDIS." And I'm like, "No, because you totally are coming across as a rapist or something." Like I mean, I wouldn't trust the Doctor if he was acting like that.
Well, it depends on which Doctor.
Matt Smith Doctor. And I know
Yeah.
that someone yelled at me. Well, technically yelled at me on your WordPress on a comment, but like about being elitist and stuff like that or classist. But you know what? Like, I like the Doctor better when he's like an old guy and he's like, I think things and stuff because I'm old. And everyone's like, yes, and we respect that because you were obviously old.
Yeah, I prefer the Doctor when he's old. As far as I'm concerned, the Doctor should be at least 45.
My mom was like, "Who's this kid?" When I gave her the first part of the first season of Matt Smith, and I was like, "Oh, he's the Doc now. Don't worry about it."
Well, she's seen classic Doctor Who. She knows that he regenerates and stuff. She just doesn't like him that young. And it's like, neither do I. Matt Smith, I think Matt Smith, if they'd given him another 20 years, or at least another 15 years, he could have been a great he could have been a much better Doctor. What I really want to look forward to is about 20 years time, whenever they have a multi-Doctor thing and they have Matt Smith turn up as this 11th Doctor again. He'll be perfect. Oh, should we mention?
God only knows he'll be in charge of Doctor Who by then.
Hopefully me. Should we mention that David Tennant and Rose are coming back for the 50th special? And, my feelings on this are pretty, well, easily worked out.
I think it should only be if David Tennant speaks with his natural accent.
Yeah, the 10th Doctor would have been a little less annoying if he spoke with a Scottish accent.
Yep. Because he would have been like, "Oh, you're all endearing and stuff."
But the rumor is that the other Doctors will be appearing through something called living paintings or something.
Oh yeah, I heard about this like Harry Potter, and I'm like, that's not interesting.
It might be go throughable if we got David Tennant having a big part with Rose and all, as long as we get to see motherfucking Colin Baker, even if it's just a fucking little painting. But honestly, it's like Moffat seems to dislike the idea of multi-Doctor stories, and it's like,
but it's part of the tradition. You have to do it.
Yeah, and he's trying to prove that he doesn't have to do it, and it's, dude, you don't get the chance to do this very often. These guys are not going to be around for very much longer, some of them.
This is true.
Tom Baker's in his 80s. He's willing to do it. Please.
And Colin Baker is awesome, so...
Yeah. We have about 7 Doctors we have 8 Doctors who are alive and able to film. Don't have a repeat of what happened with Nicholas Courtney, as in he never got to appear in New Who and then he fucking died because he was really old. Please just do multi-Doctor.
Who is Nicholas Courtney?
The Brigadier from John Pertwee's era.
Well, they kind of did, because in the episode with the cubes, I think The Power of Three, that was the girl that's running UNIT is his daughter.
Yeah.
It's like, your dad would be proud. She's like, I know, right?
And then they had an episode where just after after Nicholas Courtney died, they filmed an extra special thing of the Doctor phoning up the Brigadier and finding out that he died. And it's like, I got the feeling that was them realizing, it's like, holy shit, we didn't get Nicholas Courtney in there. The most important recurring character in the show's fucking history, Fuck You River Song. And we didn't put him into New Who.
Yeah, damn it.
We mentioned him a couple of times.
Why couldn't you have stayed on ER where you belonged?
We mentioned him a couple of times. He got an appearance in the Sarah Jane Adventures, which is a better show than Torchwood, but we didn't feel like putting him in New Who. So you motherfuckers. Okay, I will forgive the Rose thing if you put William Russell in the new show in the 50th special. And for the fans, William Russell played Ian Chesterton in the first 2 years of William Hartnell's era of Doctor Who.
Yeah, when he got shit done and took names.
Yeah, William Russell's great.
I like Ian and Barbara because they didn't fuck around.
Like Barbara died in the 80s.
Oh no.
But William Russell, he's still going. He's appearing in the Doctor Who docudrama about the creation of the show. He's playing a guy called Harry. So, good. William Russell's in that. Now put him in the 50th. I don't care that Russell T Davies tried to invent this thing that Ian and Barbara never grew old and at the same age, just as a way to fuck over William Russell. Put William Russell in that show.
But not Susan.
Yeah, if you're gonna have Susan in there, please make her fucking act her age. Honey, have you ever seen the Five Doctors?
No.
She's like 50 and she still acts like that.
No, I don't want that to ever happen. Well, she could have regenerated. She
Oh,
would
she
have
could
done
have.
that.
But it was the same actor, aged 50, acting like that.
Then that's horrible, and I'm not ever going to watch it.
And it's really, really tragic for the woman.
Shut up.
It's really tragic for the one who plays Susan because she was like 18 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she constantly tried to make them write the character older. When she was signed on, she was told the character would be older than that. And would be able to do these badass, interesting things. And it's like, she kept trying to tell them, no, I'm not actually 12. Please, stop making me act like I'm 12. And then they kept making her act like she was 12 every time she came back. The last time it happened was Dimensions in Time in the early 90s, which was the 30th anniversary thing of Doctor Who. And she was like 60, and she was still doing it. I was like, poor woman, poor Carol Ann Ford.
Well, has she done other things, like other acting things, and been famous?
Not many, but I really hope that if she comes in, please give, she's old, give her some dignity. Don't make her act 12 at the age of 70.
Yeah. Well,
put William Russell in there.
Yeah. But unfortunately, it's dictionary time. Fan rage aside.
Oh, I can. Just so everyone knows, we are going to be talking about Doctor Who, for a big chunk of each episode after, until the season runs out.
So there.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I am holding the Oxford American Dictionary. Honey, what page should I turn to?
52.
Okay. 1 or 2?
2.
Out of 16.
12.
Bearskin. The skin or fur of a bear, a rug, coat, hat, etc. made from this.
So we can talk about taxidermy and shit.
And bears. Oh no's bears.
That will mean I can talk about Assassin's Creed 3.
You can.
Because I have to kill and skin bears in that. Hardcore. Now, this has been Lesbian Talk, episode 15.
And I've been the Omega, and who have you been this time?